The single ingredient method with
There we
guesstimating.
go.
Oof. Do you see this? Do you see this monstrosity? So we often eat a lot of monstrosities, and so you're like, how the fuck do you eat that or even account for it,
Yeah,
right?
where do you get nutrition facts for that? That's definitely not in my fitness pal.
It's definitely not. And so this is a great way to be able to account for foods without the facts. So what exactly is the single ingredient method? Well, it's using single ingredients to create your own guesstimation for a dish. So it's basically like you are creating your own recipe for this crazy ass McRib, right? The big McRib was what it was
Yep, the
called.
mac rib, I think.
McRib,
Mac rib.
McRib, yeah.
But the single ingredients may not be broken down all the way into every little ingredient that they put into the dish, which we'll dive deeper into.
Yep. So let's talk about some helpful scenarios. Well, that crazy thing that you saw at the beginning of this, the McRib, Sunday dinner, which we are going to break down today. Crunch wraps, maybe you've seen those, not the Taco Bell ones. We're talking like these big ass crunch wraps. Super loaded fries, maybe some crazy top donuts, some random burritos, which we'll dive into as well. Crazy burgers, or maybe like, you go to those fancy restaurants. I mean, we haven't gone. It's not We'd like to, but we just haven't, where they course out dinners and it's an amuse-bouche. And you're like, I have no idea
Well,
what this
yeah,
is.
all kinds of foams and
Yeah, yeah,
sauces
yeah,
and
streak
yeah,
and everything. And so like,
weird little chips.
yes, there you go. This would be a great way to learn how to account for foods without the facts,
Yep.
right?
And realistically for yourself, maybe there's something that you've seen in a restaurant, on TV, social media, watching us. You're like, oh, I have no idea what that is or how to calculate it, but I would love to enjoy that. And in today's day and age, there's getting more and more crazier and crazier
Oh
things.
gosh, there is.
So this will help you to be able to know, like, all right, how can I eat that and still stay on track?
Yep. So this is the Sunday dinner, which is what we were talking about. Like this thing, I had to show a picture of us. It was literally, it was like
A
this
little
big.
log.
It was log. It was Sunday dinner rolled into one thing. So let's talk about this crazy one-off dish, right? Using the single ingredient method. Well, first off, when you're using the single ingredient method, you want to think about it like a recipe. So like, what are the ingredients? Like how much of each of these ingredients am I putting in here? Searching in social media, searching Google, even asking the restaurant are great ways to figure out what the hell is in this thing. And then you would obviously create a recipe. So you would input the ingredients, save it as a recipe. You don't have to save it as a recipe if you don't want to, but it's nice because like if you ever want to go back and eat it again, or if maybe they have a different type or different style, you could just tweak the recipe just slightly.
Yep.
And then you input how much you'll eat of it. So with the Sunday dinner, so this was from Russo's in New York. Let's talk about like what the heck is inside of this. Well, there's chicken cutlets, there's ricotta, there's beef and pork meatballs, there's all of these different things that make up this Sunday dinner.
And so this is where you would look at it and see every little thing is kind of like ingredients. So
Yep.
if you are asking the restaurant or you're breaking down, you're not looking for the exact recipe of these dishes. What you're looking is like what's actually inside of it. So this dish was made up of basically a bunch of other dishes.
Yeah.
So how many of those other dishes are in there?
Yep. And so when you're searching for it, search your nutrition app, just like when you're tracking, like measuring and tracking what you're doing, like with your food on a daily basis, you just search for the entry that you're looking for. You can also search Google. Maybe it was like something like really random ingredient. You're like, I don't even know what that is. So like Google it. And then you search it and then pick and then decide how much is in that dish. And then you create it, right? So this, for example, I searched like New York pizza dough. Like you don't even have to be that descriptive, but I know like it's New York pizza dough. So like that might change, especially in comparison to different types of pizza dough,
Yeah,
gluten-free, whatever.
Detroit, whatever.
Detroit, exactly. You can also like with this once again, look at photos and videos of the dish, ask the restaurant owner, like we were like, hey, we have a really random question and had the gift or ability to be like, could you just do me a favor and just like tell me about how much of each of these is in this? Because I'd love to just figure out the facts. Like I'm so curious. And so yeah, he actually told us how much he uses in it. Obviously, like
You want to,
you're not always going to have that at all. You would just guess
yeah.
or do your research
And
or
that, or as
whatever.
as you're eating it, you can kind of dissect it. It's like, oh,
Exactly.
like even if you didn't tell us, then you would know when you're eating. It's like, oh, like I think that was about two pieces of chicken or
Yeah.
whatever. So do your best to be aware.
Yeah. So basically, this is all the ingredients in the dish. 2 cups spaghetti, red pasta sauce, sausage links. Like I didn't say like, where did you get them from or whatever. I just looked them up and was like, all right, this is the sausage link I'm using. It seems like a responsible or appropriate choice for this thing.
And responsible
Um,
doesn't mean it was the lowest calorie. It was
that
more like
exactly.
response was like the honest choice. Like, hey, look,
Yes.
we had it. It was good. It was a little bit fatty. It was pork. So, like this is probably the most
Yeah.
realistic
Yeah.
versus like responsible is like, it wasn't a macro friendly
Yeah.
sausage.
Now, like you could also, if you're like, I'm probably not going to eat that whole thing. You're freaking crazy, or like, I have no idea. I don't want to estimate the whole thing. Like you could estimate it as a single serving. So they sell this as a single serving. You can kind of see like, oh, it looks like I'm about to eat like a meatball, maybe like a half a sausage, about a fourth cup of pasta, whatever, and like that could be your recipe,
Yep.
right? So this is everything I put in. If we ate the whole thing, which we did,
Yep.
uh, that was the total calories of the entire dish.
Yep.
And so then you just ask yourself, well, how much did or will I eat of this? And then if you cut this into 6 pieces and you had 1/6 of the roll, like that's how many calories that you ate of it,
Yep.
right? And let's talk about loaded dishes using the single ingredient method. All right, this is Smoke and Fire the Big Riblowski. This
Oh,
is this is this is delicious.
yeah.
We will tell you
Over
this.
the top burrito,
Oh
but
gosh, it,
phenomenal.
it was really good. But what was included in this was a smoked short beef short rib. It was in a big flour tortilla, mac and cheese, waffle fries, comeback sauce, 3 cheese blend, and then it was encrusted in cheese.
And I know that's becoming more and more
It
popular.
is.
That's one of those things where it's like, yeah, I thought about that, or like, keto tacos where it's just a cheese
Yes.
crust. So wild things are becoming a little bit more easy to find.
Yes. So for instance, like search the ingredients, you're like, oh, well, while they list it on the menu, oftentimes you're like, I have no idea how much is in there. So I actually utilized ChatGPT just because I was curious. I was like, oh, I wonder how like it would be. And I was like, oh, do you know like the tortilla size or the short rib size or whatever? But with that, I do encourage you to make sure, because when I was like, oh, do you know the approximate like cheese is used for the cheese crust? I think it gave me like 2 ounces or something really small. And when I was watching this video, I'm like, that doesn't seem right.
Yeah, maybe that's for a
So
small taco.
yeah, yeah. But anyways, let's just take a moment and see this is how they make it, and this is how it, like there's so many videos out there. It's like, okay, like this amount of waffle fries, this looks like this size beef rib, this amount of sauce. Look at that's not 2 ounces of cheese. Come on, that's probably like 3 ounces. I think I did like 3/4 of a cup.
But this is where social media, the internet definitely
Yeah,
comes in handy, is because a lot of places will watch or film them making it. So you get to see, it's like, oh, like, how is it made? What goes into it? Because even if you can guess, sometimes there's things that you can't necessarily see,
yeah.
like, oh, their cheeseburgers are so good because they put 3 slices of cheese or
Yeah.
whatever it is.
Yeah. And like you can see, like this is them showing how they make a lot of their food. So once again, it does help give you some type of way to like, okay, this is probably about this much. And that's where those eyeballs come into play. And then obviously like being honest with yourself of how much that is.
And this is where you want to be the opposite of most people in the world, where ignorance is not bliss. The more
No.
educated you are, the better informed you can be to make decisions that serve you.
Yeah. And so basically pick your ingredients. So, like Dickie's mac and cheese, there, find a comeback sauce that seems responsible or honest. Did 3/4 Trader Joe's 3 cheese blend for the outside, used a 12-inch flour tortilla from Chipotle. Those smoked beef ribs that we found in the grocery store, guess what? I used 16 a pound. I used a pound for this baby. Okay. And then eating the whole thing, which we did, would be 35.88 on the calories.
Yeah, but this is where obviously like they're not going to be by themselves in MyFitnessPal. And so
No.
as you can see in that example of like a recipe or putting it all together, it was pulling from other known sources that have their information out there. And this is where it's like, all right, like think critically, grab pieces from, everywhere that you can to be able to help you build something that serves you.
Yep. But join us in our next presentation of other types of crazy dishes to think about with the single ingredient method.